welcome to Coffee with Des. Today I am so honored to have the gorgeous Beena Kashyap, a mom, a wife, a daughter, and much, much more for our community. And today, for International Women's Day, this month, I'm going to be highlighting some amazing women that have contributed a lot to our community over the years. And Beena is definitely one of them. Welcome, Beena.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Beena, for being on. I want to first congratulate you and let you guys know that Beena has taken a wonderful decision to retire.
Yes, I did. But I am going to go back casual,
Okay, that's
probably in the summer,
good. Okay.
and do a little bit because I can't just leave nursing
Yeah.
completely. Yeah. I have a lot more to give, I guess.
So tell me a bit about your journey.
Well, I was born here. I was born in Victoria to immigrant parents, but my great grandfather came in 1906 to Canada.
Oh, wow.
So we've had our family here for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then I was born in 1964 and went to school here, elementary school, high school, went to Lambert Park growing up. My parents were always like, like any Indian parents, you should let you become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or even like a teacher. It was important for my dad that we all had like some sort of post-secondary education, just were well settled, I guess. So he's the one who encouraged me to go into nursing. And he said to me, if you go into nursing or into the medical field, you'll never be without a job. And he was absolutely right. And so in 1982, I graduated from high school. In 86, I graduated from nursing. And that was a 2-year diploma program. So I was an RN, but I didn't have my degree at the time. And so my parents were like, okay, now you've finished your education. Now it's time for your marriage. And my cousin had had an arranged marriage. So she was the cousin I looked up to. She was my role model. I said, okay, sure, right? And so I wasn't allowed to, prior to that, I wasn't allowed to date. I wasn't allowed to do too much partying, none of those things. I did, have some social events with my nursing friends, which was great. But I was ready to get married. I was like, okay, let's do it. So we went to India. My uncle who lives there, my chachaji, he helped with the suitable boy.
Before you go on, I just want to
Yeah.
acknowledge your father, first of all. I
Oh,
got
yeah.
to sit with him on a community organization, and he's a wonderful person and a great
Yeah.
role model.
Oh, thanks.
And now that we're getting to this handsome man that you married,
Yeah.
he's also, really he's a wonderful person to talk to in the community, always there for everyone.
He is. He is good. He's a great guy. But yeah, I think I learned my love of like just serving the community or helping out or giving back from my dad. He's like that. Like my mom has always been very busy at home doing her thing. And my dad, he's very social.
You have to go back to this whole marriage thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's going to want to know about,
Yeah. So it's a
you-
great story. The condensed version is that when you go to India, and back then there was no social media, right? And they did was they put an ad in the newspaper, and it was called the matrimonials. And so they had put an ad like girl or a 23-year-old girl from Canada. They said I had a wheatish complexion and my age and my weight and my height. Yeah. And then they also had that I was homely, so that I was domesticated. Like, they wrote that down. I'll never forget it. And I actually cut it out and I saved it, but I don't know where it is. So then letters start to pour into my uncle's house. And so we did see a few different eligible boys. And then some, we always had to look at the job and the career that person had. Would it transfer to Canada? So finally, after about 3 or 4 different people, we met my husband, and he had a degree in computer science and a master's in statistics. And he was, as a child, always wanted to live abroad. That was one of his dreams and wishes. So his sister had found the article, wrote to my uncle, and then we got to meet him. And so we got to meet him, and then we met him at 1 p.m.-ish. And by 3, I had said yes. And it was really not like I was sure. I think it was a lot of sense of duty, and that we had come all this way, and I didn't want to come back to Canada, I guess, without a husband.
Can I just say one thing? You won the jackpot that
Yeah, right?
yeah.
So yeah, we basically only knew each other for 2 hours, asked each other a couple of questions. What do you think of nursing? That sort of thing. And then we were together since then. So now we've been married about 30, it's 34 years. 34 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Anyone that comes from India, they have to redo all of their education. So he had to redo it all. And while he was doing that, I became pregnant with my first baby. That's Naveen, my son. And then I became pregnant soon after with Mira. And then I went part-time because I wanted to spend a lot of time with my children. And so I wanted to be there for them when they came home, and also like school events, to be present for that. And then association wise with friends and things, like having play dates over, that was important to me. That was a really good time of my life, I think, raising my children and working at the same time. And then my mom helped me so much. Like, my mom she basically raised them with me. She potty trained them. She took care of them. When I worked night shifts, she was there for me, took them in. She had a crib in her room, right? Yeah. She was there for me.
It's really sweet.
Yeah.
You've had the support from everyone, and you're always a support for everyone too. I really admire your relationship with your children.
No, thank you.
I've been watching you for several years now.
Yeah.
And it's like you're just hanging out with them, like you're just another, there's no mom kind of feeling there.
I've always made sure that they could tell me whatever they wanted to tell me, and they have. And also something that really impacted my life was my niece Rena Verk, who passed away because she was beaten to death. And so when that happened, I was having a birthday for my son, and I made a vow to myself that I was always going to make sure I knew who they were hanging out with, if I could, right? So that was really important to me.
It was that was very sad. Like I was, she was, I think she's around my age.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I heard that even in high school, that news, and it scared me. Like, I have so many nice friends from different backgrounds, but then there's sometimes a bad apple that you don't realize or what's going on.
Oh yeah.
And just, it makes you afraid.
Yeah. The kids, they all ended up doing pretty good. I'm very happy that they all went to university, got their degrees, they're settled, they all have jobs. 2 of them fall into my footsteps, 2 are nurses. And so I feel like I'm giving back to the community that way, because there's such a shortage.
I know, I saw that.
I retired, 2 are in the forces now.
That's great though, but you inspired them to do that. And the fact that they followed through too, right? Because I met them, I think when they were starting their degrees, I had first initially met your daughters, and now to see that they've graduated and they're actually, it's a great way for them to follow your footsteps.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they did. But and then my son became an engineer, and then my other daughter, she's in marketing in Vancouver, and so they're all settled, which makes you feel so good, because that stage is done then, right? And you feel like, okay, I did it, and it was great. I retired because
I enjoy life. And
I do.
Them enjoy life, and I'm sure they'll find their way just like you did.
Yeah.
Right?
So 36 years I worked in nursing. So I was 21 when I started, and now I'm 58, and I decided, okay, I'm going to retire, but I'm going to only work like 2 or 3 days a week, more work-life balance, and still be able to spend time with my friends or my family, my mom and dad, right? Because there's that window where I know with my parents too, while they're really healthy and good, I have that time. So that's important to me. But it's important to play, right? And in my career, what I've learned is that, life is really, really precious, because you guys know this, like, in the blink of an eye, things change. And I have had so many patients, they're fine one day, and the next day, things have gone really sad. Spend time with your people, and enjoy each other's company. And I do like celebrating almost anything that comes along.
You're always at the festival. Even in the community, you're always,
I like to be.
Is there.
I was able to give back to my community. Finally, as a diabetes nurse, I went to the Gurdwara many times, like at least 3 times, and I went to Duncan Gurdwara, and I was able to do some information seminars there, right, on diabetes.
That's great.
And it was really good.
It is, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a good awareness for everyone, and they always ask me to come back. So I think I'm going to plan something for the fall, and do one more at least. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. You
Yeah.
should, and I really appreciate not just you, but many nurses that are continuing to go back after their retirement. My
Mhm.
aunt's in Surrey Memorial as
Mhm.
in the IC
Wow.
unit, and she's done the same thing. She's
Yeah.
retired recently,
Yeah.
but she loves going back. But
Yeah.
it's like it's because of you nurses that we are able to continue to, because
Yeah.
right now our health system is
Oh,
really
oh
needs it.
yeah. I
So
know.
really appreciate that, the work
Yeah.
you put in over these years, and
Yeah. In my career, I've lived through the AIDS epidemic. There's a cure like for hepatitis B and C, they found. COVID happened. There was also the storm, the 96 blizzard, and the nurses were going into work in snowshoes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in the span of my career.
As frontline workers, it's the things you see every day, and the way
Yeah.
you treat patients. It's
Yeah.
and having that compassion each time. It's definitely not easy. And
No, it's not easy. And there's lots of times when I would come home, or you're driving home and you're sad, or you cry, or you come home and think about those people, right? And so many of my patients during my span with the diabetes center, you get to know really well because it's an outpatient clinic. So they come frequently. They back and forth. And some of them, passed away. People who have touched your life and you've touched their life, right? You've made a difference. And I run into people all the time in the community like, hey, aren't you Beena? Aren't you that diabetes educator? You took care of my son, or you took care of my dad, and then I love hearing those stories.
That's really great. No, it's wonderful to hear that, and that's why, I really want to thank you for coming today, because I really want to highlight, and it's about empowering. I'm all about empowering other women.
Yes.
And I feel that your story, and when other women can relate, and we do have a lot of nurses throughout the city that
we do,
and which is great. But at the same time, I'm sure there's several that are listening that may want to go into this field, and just to hear your journey and how you've made a difference to many people's lives, because a lot of people just see the one side of it, but you also have to work under the restraints of what you're allowed to do, right? As well. So it's not easy, but when you've got somebody which is so passionate like yourself, it can make a huge difference to society.
Before my retirement, probably like December and January, there were so many times in the office I would just break down because I was like, oh my God, I'm retiring. And because I do love what I do. Like you said, that hoping that we can inspire other women. So when I had a little mini retirement party recently, and since then, so many people have said to me, it's because of you that I went into nursing, or you said this to me, and then you helped me here.
When you go in as a patient, like if I were to go in, I only see things from one side. I really can't see the other side unless I know somebody that's there.
You know what? Now that you've said that, I have always in my heart thought that, you know what, if I have a skill or if I have some knowledge, if I don't share it, if I don't care, then that's not what you should be doing. You should share. Like, if you ask me for help, if I don't help you, that's just not right. But if I know something, I'll let them know. If I don't, I don't.
But or you can send them, where the right direction.
That's right. Help them navigate the system, because we don't know this place. Even like my mom and dad, when they go in the hospital, I'm always there for them, right? Making sure things are happening.
Yeah, no, you got to do your best in whatever you're doing. But you like you said, you've inspired many women, and
you don't realize
you don't, like, even you sometimes don't. Like, I had discussed with another nurse a while back, and I told her how much I appreciate it, but just like less people, I think more or less will stop and acknowledge that. And I think that's something, in especially today's tech savvy world, that we need to stop and kind of especially acknowledge people that are making a difference in our community, or have made a difference in our community.
I think the one thing that I really like, speaking of women, like my mom has inspired me so much, right? So much. My mom, my mussy, the women that I've worked with, and even, of course, the men, but like they're my mentors. As I reflect, there's so many people that have shaped my professional attitude and just me as a nurse, right? My mom, the fact that I know Punjabi, thank God, because it has come in so handy when I do those seminars, or when Punjabi speaking patients come into the clinic, and when you can finally talk to them in a language they understand, they get it. Right? They
do.
get it.
I mean, it's the same with real estate right now. Like,
Yeah.
I again acknowledge my
Yeah.
family that taught
Yeah.
me, you know, Punjabi
Yeah.
and Hindi and all the different languages
Yeah.
I speak. But
Yeah.
when I can go in and, like, you know, there is that common ground sometimes.
Totally.
Just fully understanding something,
Yeah.
or having that comfort level.
Yes.
And especially when it comes to your health, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you know, for me is the saying health as well.
Yes.
It's, you know,
It is.
nothing else matters
Yeah.
if you got the right
Yeah.
the health. So, Beena, now I think everyone's kind of wants me to ask this question, so I'm going to
Sure.
ask, what are the retirement plans?
So the retirement plans, well, so far I have been on holidays for the month of February and March. My retirement starts March 30th. But in the meantime, I've been cleaning. And I find that's kind of cathartic, because I'm just like, you know, getting rid of things that I've never used for the next chapter of my life. It's like nesting in a way for my retirement. And then I plan to travel. So I'm going to Hawaii in April. And then I think we're doing a cruise in the fall. And I didn't really have, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't do very much traveling at all. And then I am also going back to work, so I'll work a little bit. And I plan to help my son with his yard, because he moved into a place and the yard needs some work. So I love gardening, so we'll do that. Yeah, those are my plans so far in my head.
That's great.
And spend time with my family.
Oh, okay. That's great. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.